Like every team in the NFL, the Texans have needs that they have to address this offseason. Now, obviously, some of these needs are bigger than other needs, but they still have to be addressed if they want to be a better team. Now, before I get into these needs, let me just apologize if I sound different. I have really bad allergies right now, and it's frustrating, but I still gotta put out a video. I got to. I take no days off. Anyways, though, let's start off with the biggest need. And this one was tough. It was between two different positions, but still technically the same thing. So I went ahead and listed it as 1A and 1B. I ultimately decided that 1A would be interior pass rusher. And honestly, this was one of the bigger needs last offseason as well that the Texans, well, I'm not going to say they didn't address because they did draft Charles Omenihu, who is indeed an interior pass rusher, but he still has to get better. But, I still think the Texans would really benefit from having a big boy in the middle that could push the pocket back and make the quarterback really, really uncomfortable. The Texans, they currently don't have that unless they choose to move J.J. Watt inside, but other than that, they don't have that. I mean, they could gamble on Charles Omenihu and hope that he progresses as a player going into the second year and is able to provide some interior pressure, but regardless, I do think that the Texans' biggest need is a guy in the middle of that defense, in that D-line, that can push the pocket and get pressure on the quarterback and make life easy for the edge rushers like J.J. Watt, like Whitney Merciless, Jacob Martin. Now, need 1B, in my opinion, is an edge rusher. I just think the Texans need some sort of pass rush. We saw what our pass rush was against KC in the playoffs. We even saw it against the Bills in the playoffs as well. Like, we saw it all year long. When Watt went down, our pass rush was garbage. Even with Watt, it was subpar. And I think we need an edge rusher. Look, I understand we got Whitney Merciless, but like I've said before, Whitney Merciless is the definition of average. We got Jacob Martin, who I absolutely love. We have Duke Ejiofor, but Duke Ejiofor, we can't rely on him to stay healthy. And yes, we got J.J. Watt. And as much as I love J.J. Watt, and as much as it hurts me to say this, but I think with Watt, you just know eventually he's going to get hurt. I think with Watt and his injury history, I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when. So I think it'd be foolish for the Texans to go into the season with J.J. Watt being like their premier pass rusher. Like, look, and I'm not saying go get, a Von Miller type guy, because you don't have to do that. As long as you have nice players that can play their role and do their jobs, you'll be fine. For example, we already got average Whitney Merciless, and we got Jacob Martin, who I absolutely love. I think he's going to be really good. Now, if you bring in another pass rusher, keep them fresh, keep them rotating, I think you could survive if J.J. Watt doesn't get hurt, And I'm not saying Watt's going to, have a season-ending injury, but, like, he could miss a game or 2 or 3. And, if he's not there, then obviously we're going to feel his absence. It's going to hurt us. But if we have a nice player, another edge rusher, then we won't really miss him as much. Because when Watt went down, instead of, Jacob Martin getting more snaps, it was actually Brennan Scarlett who got more snaps. And that was terrible. We don't want Brennan Scarlett taking more snaps. We want an actual good edge rusher. And who knows? Maybe Jacob Martin improves. This is where it's tough, in my opinion. I think the Texans' two biggest needs are interior defensive lineman, pass rusher, and an edge rusher. And the tough part about that is the Texans have two very young, very promising players at those positions in Charles Omenihu and Jacob Martin. So, what do you do? Do you gamble on them taking a step forward next season, or do you just go all out and improve the areas that you have to improve? It's kind of tough, but hey, man, personally, I have to go get some players to improve this team. Love Jacob, love Charles, but, unfortunately in the NFL, not everything always goes your way. And, of course, you just got to prepare for injuries, man. Injuries suck, but that's just the reality of it. They happen, so it's good to be prepared, Now, need number 3, running back. I think running back is the Texans' third biggest need. And believe me, I already know what a lot of you guys are going to say. Well, what about Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson? Oh, no, I absolutely love Duke Johnson. Carlos Hyde did some good things for us this year. But the Texans are one injury away from having the worst running back group in the NFL. It's not even close, man. And you got to also consider Carlos Hyde is 30 years old. And he's not even under contract. So I'd bring back Carlos Hyde on a 1-year deal. And I'd draft a running back. And, that running back would eventually become our, every down back type of guy, But for now, he'd be able to just, share carries with Duke and Hyde. And like I said, eventually become that featured back. Or if, the Texans don't want to have a featured back, they can just mix them into the rotation. Because, these days, man, for example, the two teams that were just in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs and the Niners, none of those teams have a featured back. They just have quite a lot of solid running backs. So maybe the Texans could do something like that. And, again, gotta have depth. Imagine how screwed the Texans would have been if Carlos Hyde got hurt midseason, You got to prepare for things like that. The good teams that make deep playoff runs, they prepare for everything. They have depth all across the board. And it's about time the Texans started doing that. Well, they have kind of started doing that, but some positions are indeed weaker than others. Now, the fourth biggest need on the Texans is right guard. Zach Fulton, in my opinion, is a liability. He's, I'd say, a below average to average pass blocker and an atrocious run blocker. Here's the funny part though, man. 2 years ago in 2018, Zach Fulton was arguably our best offensive lineman. Crazy how things changed in just a year. Now Zach Fulton is actually a liability. Now, look, every good offensive line has a weak link, and I would be okay, I guess, with going into the season as Zach Fulton is our right guard. But it's also, something that we can't just ignore. He's a liability, and it would be good to replace him with a really good, balanced offensive guard that can actually get some push in the run game and really help our running backs get going. And I'm just going to throw this out there. If the Texans were to cut Zach Fulton, they would save $7 million cap. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there, putting it out there. I'm sure all you guys already know, but, like I said, just throwing it out there. Alright, need number 5. Will Fuller insurance. The Texans, they need someone that can fill in when Will Fuller is hurt. Now, Kenny Stills, love Kenny Stills. Great guy, great teammate, looks good in dresses too. Now, Kenny Stills, he is not a good Will Fuller replacement. Kenny Stills does what Kenny Stills does. He's his own player. He is not Will Fuller, that burner, the take the top off of defense type of guy. And that's just what Fuller does. Like, the Texans, whenever Fuller gets hurt and misses games, the Texans offense clearly takes a step back. And here's the thing, man. Like J.J. Watt, I love Will Fuller, but just like J.J. Watt, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We know Will Fuller's going to miss some games, so I think it's very important for the Texans to have some Will Fuller insurance. That 4th/5th wide receiver who can actually take the top off the defense, a guy who can fill in for Will Fuller. Now, Fuller is a very talented wide receiver, so it's definitely going to be hard to find his replacement. Now, I'm not asking to go get Tyreek Hill because, in my opinion, Tyreek Hill and Will Fuller are really the only two players that can do what they do, because, you got people like Ted Ginn, a very fast guy, but that's it. Fuller and Tyreek Hill, they're more than just very fast guys. They run a complete route tree. They can do everything. They got crisp route running. That's what makes them more dangerous than the other deep threats in the league. Think of a prime Deshaun Jackson. That's what Will Fuller is, and that's what Tyreek Hill is. So, it is going to be very hard to find someone who can do what Will Fuller does. And I'm not asking for them to find someone who can do exactly what Will Fuller does, but just find someone that's very fast and can maybe return kicks and punts as well. Because that would just be killing 2 birds with 1 stone, in my opinion. Because actually, my 6th biggest need was kick returner/punt returner. So, yeah, you guys know how I feel about DeAndre Carter. He's a scrub. Terrible player, terrible returner. I don't know how in the world he fumbled that ball in the playoffs. But he has got to go. And I think it would be very wise for the Texans to find a kick/punt returner who is very fast, and he could be that backup player to Will Fuller, and also a kick and punt returner, so you wouldn't just have him doing one thing and wait for Fuller to get hurt to use him. You'd also be using him as a kick/punt returner. Now, the 7th biggest need on the Texans, in my opinion, is corner. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have corner way higher on the list, but personally, I love Garyon Conley. I think Garyon Conley is a legit number 1 corner. And, I've been saying it all offseason. I know the offseason just started, but I feel like I've been saying this a lot. Conley had a messed up neck, a messed up ankle, and a messed up hamstring. And he still balled out. I think Conley is a legit number 1 corner. Now, obviously you got Roby. Will they keep Roby? I don't know. And then you got Lonnie Johnson. Lonnie Johnson, similar to, Charles Omenihu and Jacob Martin, a young player that, I think Martin and Omenihu showed more flashes than Lonnie, but Lonnie definitely has some flashes as well. But Lonnie needs to improve. He needs to improve a lot because as of right now, as it stands, I wouldn't trust Lonnie Johnson being our starting number 2 corner. I just wouldn't. The thought of Lonnie Johnson being our number 2 corner just terrifies me. But he was a 2nd round pick. They're not going to give up on Lonnie Johnson. I'm pretty sure Lonnie Johnson will get his shot next season. And we already got Garyon Conley. And our 3rd corner is Vernon Hargreaves. Now, Vernon Hargreaves, up and down player, inconsistent, has great moments, but also has like, what in the world are you doing moments, you know? Now, Hargreaves does need to take a pay cut, and I think he will take a pay cut. I think they might cut him and re-sign him like on a cheap 2-year deal. And I am totally fine with that. You know, I am fine with Hargreaves and Conley. Lonnie does scare me, but he's a young player. He can definitely get better. I mean, he's barely entering year 2, so there's definitely something there. And I know a lot of you guys are probably going to have corner way higher on the list, your list of needs, but I just see this, you know, from the Texans' perspective. You know, they got their stud corner in, what's his name, Conley, and then they have their young second-round pick corner that they're not going to give up on with Lonnie Johnson. And they got Vernon Hargreaves, who's 24, by the way, who showed a lot of promise as well at the nickel position. Keep in mind, like, Hargreaves came to the team like around, week 10? So he barely had any practice time with the team, so he can definitely improve. Now, the last 2 needs, you could like flip them, whatever. It's linebacker depth and safety depth. I mean, when Dylan Cole went down, McKinney was out there in coverage. We just can't have that. And then when Gibson went down, or when Reed would go down, we'd have Jalil Adai in deep coverage. You can't have that. So, as depth pieces, I feel like the Texans need a cover safety and a cover linebacker. And, you know, do that, and I think we'll be fine depth-wise. I mean, it's not anything like disgustingly bad, like, oh my god, the Texans have terrible depth, because Dylan Cole's fine. But Dylan Cole, like J.J. Watt, like Will Fuller, love him, but it's a matter of when, not if. We know Dylan Cole's going to get hurt, unfortunately, so we got to be prepared for it. And as the safeties go, well, I mean, I think Gibson and Reed, you know, are capable of staying healthy, but still, you know, just in case. You can't have Jalil Adai in deep coverage. And, you know, I would love to have Jalil Adai back, because he is a good box safety, in my opinion. You know, as long as he's near the line of scrimmage, he's fine. If he's in deep coverage, Texans are in deep trouble. Now, yeah, those are pretty much all the needs I have for the Texans. Comment down below your own needs. Comment down below if you think I missed any. And yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.